7 small things God used to show his power. The prophet Zechariah asks in Zechariah 4:10, "For who has despised the day of small things?" The Bible reveals that nothing is too small for God to use for his purposes. There are 7 incidents in the Bible when God used small things to show his power. 1. Moses' rod. God asked Moses, "What is that in your hand?" Moses replied, "A rod." God told Moses, "Cast it on the ground." Moses cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses fled from it. When God asked Moses to take the Israelites out of Egypt and bring them into the Promised Land, Moses was not sure the people would listen to him. He asked God, "But suppose they will not believe me or listen to my voice? Suppose they say, 'The Lord has not appeared to you.'" The rod in Moses' hand became a powerful tool for demonstrating God's power. 2. David's 5 smooth stones. David chose 5 smooth stones from the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag, in a pouch which he had, and his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine giant named Goliath. Goliath mocked him because he was only a young boy with no weapons. David bravely responded to the giant that he had no weapons, but the Lord was with him, and he would prevail. He then put his hand in his bag and took out a stone, and he slung it and struck the Philistine in his forehead so that the stone sank into his forehead, and he fell dead on his face to the earth. 3. The widow's handful of flour. God told Elijah to go to Zarephath, where a widow would provide for him. When he saw the widow, Elijah asked her for water and a piece of bread. The widow replied that she only had a handful of flour left in the bin and a little oil in the jar that was just enough to make a piece of bread for her and her son to eat and die, because there was nothing more. Elijah told her to make bread for him and then to make another for her and her son, because the Lord told him the flour bin should not be used up, nor shall the jar of oil run dry until the day the Lord sends rain on the earth. The widow did as Elijah had told her, and she and he and her household ate for many days. The flour bin was not used up, nor did the jar of oil run dry, according to the word of the Lord, which he spoke by Elijah. 4. The cloud as small as a man's hand. Elijah told King Ahab that the drought had ended and rain would be coming. Then he went to Mount Carmel, bowed on the ground, and prayed to God. While praying, he asked his servant to look toward the Sea of Galilee to see if there were rain clouds. The servant looked up toward the sea and told Elijah there was nothing. Elijah asked him to do it 7 times, and on the 7th time, the servant saw a cloud as small as a man's hand rising from the sea. Elijah sent his servant to tell King Ahab to get on his chariot before the rain stopped him. Soon, the sky grew dark, and heavy winds and heavy rains followed. 5. The jawbone of a dead donkey. Samson's life was in danger. He was in the camp of his enemies, the Philistines. His arms and hands were tied up, and he could not do anything to defend himself. The Spirit of the Lord powerfully came upon him, and he snapped the ropes off his arms and hands. He then found a fresh jawbone of a recently killed donkey. He picked it up and killed 1,000 Philistines with it. That jawbone was a weapon used by God to bring deliverance to Samson, who his enemies dominated. 6. The little boy's meal of 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. Jesus was teaching and healing by the Sea of Galilee. There was a massive crowd of 5,000 men. Jesus wanted to feed them, but the disciples said that would be impossible. One of the disciples found a boy with a meal of 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. Jesus took the 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish, thanked God for them, and used them to feed over 5,000 people, with 12 baskets of leftovers to spare. 7. The mustard seed. Jesus was teaching his disciples about the kingdom of heaven. He used as an example the mustard seed, which he said was the smallest of all seeds, but when it grows, it becomes a big tree where the birds could come and nest on its branches.